We're back. Discipline to Win, episode 46. Today we're here with Alex Guminski. He is the founder and president of Prozone Sports Agency. Alex, welcome today to Discipline to Win.
Thank you, Nick. I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely. So today, this is the first time we have somebody from your industry, on the podcast. So super excited to delve into this world. Nick and I, both played sports in high school, college, love everything sports. So today I was super excited that you would come on today. Really, we love people that we think, are just like us, that have a vision and are able to actually turn it from an idea to something and bring it to, fruition and reality through execution. So just start from ground zero. Where did you come from and how did you get to the point where you're at today?
Sure. Well, I think that it's very important to say at the outset that I'm a Virgo. So I was a jack of all trades, but a master at none my entire life. I knew a little bit about everything, but I wasn't excited about or knew enough about maybe one industry or a particular profession that when I was a kid, I said, that's what I want to do as for a career. But every step of the way, there was somebody that kind of showed me a version of myself that I didn't see, where I'm looking in the mirror and I'm seeing one version, but as I'm interacting with everybody on a daily basis, they see a different one. So when I'm halfway through undergrad, I didn't know what to do with my career. I didn't know what kind of job I wanted to have. And I took a year off after I graduated, and I spent a year in Greece with some of my family over there and just kind of decompress, kind of reset a little bit. And I got back. I still didn't know what I wanted to do. And my dad said, well, why don't you go talk to one of your professors that had, you'd taken 3 or 4 of their classes. They know your work ethic. They know how you answer questions. They know your study habits. And I went to the professor that, as he suggested, and he said, well, I think you'd be a good lawyer. So I walked out of the office. I said, I'm going to go to law school now. Then while I was in law school, I went in with an international business transactions focus. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do mergers and acquisitions for international corporate entities. And I spoke 3 languages at the time. So it just kind of made sense that it was something cute. It was something that really spoke to me and resonated. And then I left law school with a criminal defense focus. So a couple years into my practice, I passed the bar. A couple years into my practice, I was working at a law firm that had a very niche entertainment law practice where we represented in movie studios in Pittsburgh. So we did all the contracts for The Dark Knight and Jack Reacher, and when the DJs would come and perform at the venue, we did the permitting, we did the licensing, all the contracts for these events. At the same time, I had a couple friends that I had graduated high school and college with that went on to become professional athletes, all in the NFL. And they reached out and they said, Alex, heard you became a lawyer. Would you mind looking at this contract for me? I said, sure, I'll look at this contract for you, but don't you guys have agents?
Yeah, right.
That probably brought this contract to you, probably negotiated it for you, probably enforce it when things go wrong. And after maybe 4 or 5 of these happening, I went to my boss at the time. I said, why don't we become a sports and entertainment division? I'll learn how to do it. I'll find a mentor. I'll get my feet wet, and we could start doing this, because there's no market for it in Pittsburgh at the time. There were a couple of really older agents that were getting out of the business for multiple different reasons. But I thought that entering the market at that time was a really good moment. So we became sports agents, and I saw that there was an immediate need for someone that cared, somebody that had some wherewithal, somebody that was hungry. I've been ripping and running with Prozone since 2018, end of 2018.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah. So that was a long way to answer
for
question,
sure,
right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I love it because I love when people just take something happening in their life and immediately can translate it to opportunity. And I think that you either have that or you don't. I think we see it every day in business there's 2 types of people. There's people that will look at something and only see the problems and the downside, where when your buddies were bringing this to you, you didn't think like, man, this looks like expensive, or like, I don't know anything about this, like you should just go look for somebody else. You immediately looked at like the upside of, I could probably figure this out, and there's a way that we can monetize this and, turn it into something big. So that's, I guess, my next question of, okay, it started with like a couple buddies. how has the business grown since 2018 as far as, are you just in the Pittsburgh marketplace? Have you just stuck with football? Have you broadened out to other, sports? How has that journey been?
Yeah. Well, I got my NFL license in 2016, so I was still with my previous firm at the time. And then we had some differences with my boss, and I just decided it was time to start my own thing and hang my own shingle. So at the time that I left, I had 3 or 4 clients that were playing in the NFL at the time. So it wasn't as if I was starting off brand new, but I was just starting off as an entrepreneur, brand new. So I had a book of business. I had, kind of the lay of the land as to how to do this, what kind of capital I needed, what my time investment was going to be. Did I need any help, or could I do it alone? But doing it initially when I started Prozone, my goal was to do all 4 major sports and to have different agents run those divisions. And we're at 3 divisions now: football, baseball, and basketball. We just don't have a hockey division or hockey agent. Sticking with that same entertainment law and representation background, we do have a WWE superstar that we represent, Luca Crucifino, and we're getting into actors and models and musicians right now. So there will be an entertainment division launch before the end of 2025, most likely. So we have a baseball agent who's out of Salt Lake City, and I'm a FIBA agent as well. So I do all of our international basketball contracts. The big kind of area of my time where I spend most of my days is with NIL. And it's the hottest topic in sports right now, both at the high school and at the college level, depending on what state you're in. But we do contracts. So I negotiate the revenue sharing contracts and the collective contracts for high school players that are entering college, and for college players that are still in college and want to enter the transfer portal or stay at their current schools.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what? This might be a dumb question, but you said that you have the 3 divisions, but you don't have the hockey. What, I guess, separates, because when I think of sports agent, I think, okay, you could just go across like any sport. You're negotiating a contract, you're negotiating revenue, you're negotiating, let's say, tenure, different incentives. What differentiates each sport? And I guess what makes the agents or yourself that you have running each division, like what's your competitive advantage in that specific sport when you're doing negotiations?
So it's easy to say sports agent, right, to describe what somebody does for their career, but the unions that represent the players in each league, they have specific requirements for you to be an agent in their league. So when we say sports agent, we really are asking which sport are you an agent in. So the Players Association, the NFLPA, the MLBPA, the NBAPA, they give you a set of prerequisites for you to become what's really called a certified or a licensed contract advisor within that union. We like to say agent because who wants to say certified or licensed contract advisor every time they tell somebody what they do? So but there are agent-client principles that exist in that relationship. So I took the NFLPA agent exam. They only offer it once a year. You apply for it in February, then you take the exam in July. Hopefully, if you pass, you get your license in October. So, if I wanted to do the NBA, I would also have to take a second exam for the NBA. Some of the leagues allow you to waive into their union without taking the exam, as long as you can meet certain requirements to do that. You've been in the NFL for 7 years. Okay, the MLB will let you in. You've been in the NBA for 10 years. The NFL will let you in. Things like that. Did that answer your question?
It did.
Okay.
No, I appreciate that. And I didn't want to bounce off the NIL topic though, because that is obviously like the hottest topic right now. And my question around the NIL would be, you're working with these young kids. I mean, some of these kids that are coming up, they're 15 years old and they're getting Division I offers. And how are you, I guess, positioning yourself, or how is your firm positioning itself as like, hey, we're the premier agency that your child, because I would imagine you're negotiating you're talking with the parents with these high school kids. How are you positioning your agency as like, we're the premier shop that you should be going with?
Well, I think that it goes back to the first comment that I made about the timing of the market and the geographic location. There's nobody doing it in Pittsburgh. So we have one edge against competition that way. And we really don't do too much recruiting outside of the geographic areas where our agents exist or where we spend most of our time. So when you see our logo, you'll see Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Miami, which is where we do most of our relationship building. I don't like using the word recruiting. It's a 4-letter word to me. It doesn't really capture the essence and the philosophy of what we have and what we do at Prozone. This business can sometimes enter into transactional feels and transactional vibes, and we want to be the complete opposite of that. Our clients will never be a transaction to us. We negotiate transactions with them and for them on their behalf, but we give off the feeling of community. We give off the feeling of integrity, family. We'll never replace their family, but we become an extension of their family because of the subject matter that we deal with. And we talk about someone once said, you get paid in proportion to the problems that you solve, right? And I forget who it was, but I thought that was brilliant. And what we do is we try to listen as much as possible before we speak. The old Chinese proverb, give before you take. And we do that as early as possible. If parents are involved, there's a role for them to play. There are parts of the business that are meaningful to them, and there are parts of the business that don't apply to them. But yes, when we're dealing with under 18 individuals that are entering into contracts, parents or a parent or guardian has to sign off on all these contracts until they reach the age of legal capacity to contract. So I like the fact that NIL became as prevalent and as prominent as it is now, because the competition in the agent world is very high. I'll give you some numbers. There are 2,000 NFL players. If you add the practice squad, there's about 2,600. There are 900 NFL clients or NFL agents. Wow. So that means there's 3 available potential clientele for each agent that exists. And then the other saying that we have in the business is that 80% of NFL players are represented by 20% of NFL agents. So, you have 80% of NFL agents that are operating on a yearly basis without an active client. Or maybe they'll have a client in 2025 and then another one in 2027, but they don't have that consistent trend, which has happened to us, on our path as well. So we took a year off and we just said, look, we're not going to sign a new client for this year because next year is meaningful to us. If there's going to be a lot more opportunity, there's going to be more focus on our clients. And we just said there's no need to add more to take away our bandwidth right now. So when we're doing our vetting at the beginning with the family, we really want to talk about some more mature concepts and see several questions that we ask. What are you going to do with $100,000 as soon as you have it, right? And we want to hear their answer. Are they going to buy a car? Are they going to buy a chain? Are they going to invest it? Are they going to save it? What are they going to do with it? What are their eating habits? What are their workout habits? What are their sleep habits? What kind of distractions do they have in their lives? Are there people we need to bring in? Are there people we need to remove?
Right.
Do you need to change your phone number? If anybody wants to reach you, they should reach me first. Those kinds of things. So I think once you break through the level of trust, and once you break through the that fence that exists between people when they just meet each other, that you could recognize that we have your best interest in mind, and the way that we become successful is by making you successful off the field, getting your legal paperwork set up for, LLC, a 501c3, helping them with their taxes, helping them write their wills at 19 years old. And we do prenuptial agreements. We represent them in court. We do all their real estate transactions. We really add value to the areas of their life that they can't get on their own. And it allows them to become the best versions of themselves on the field. So I think that's allows us to do what we do that are different than the transactional relationship that a lot of agents will have with their clients.
Yeah.
You segued right into the question I was going to ask you of what is the expectation to be competitive as far as not just, let's say, their contract with whatever their sport is, but how many other things outside of that do they look to your firm to provide, which you just went through a laundry list of them. And I think we look to do the same thing with our clients. A lot of people would think that people just come here, they invest their money, and that's just the transactional thing, to where we've, went out to provide all of their in-house, estate planning, all their in-house tax prep, their financial planning, to do everything together, where it seems like you've managed to do the exact same thing in your business. I hear a lot of the time, and Nick, and I were even just on a call today, and I think I liked your intro about yourself, how you were a jack of all trades, sort of a master of none, to where I've tried to be the exact same thing, to where some people, their school of thought is, we're just going to be excellent and just do one singular thing, and they'll refuse to do anything else for somebody. And I think that you just corner yourself, because naturally people, if they trust you, which you said is the most important thing you build, when people trust you, they're bringing their problems to you. And for us, that's how we build out all of our different service offerings, is instead of just saying, no, we can't help you with that, when you have that, family type, community type relationship, you just naturally want to help people. So I think, it's when you put those restrictions on yourself of, are you going to help somebody with this or not? I think you restrict the relationship and you restrict growth, because naturally, if you're just making things easier for somebody and providing more solutions, they're going to do more for you in return, and talk more about you and how you've helped them, providing, referrals, which is obviously the best for any business. So I guess, is your firm unique in that offering of providing all of those things, or are there a lot of other competitors that are similar to yours, where they go above and beyond doing all those, add-on services for their clients?
I would hope that they go above and beyond and do those things for their clients. My guess is that they don't, or that they outsource it to a subsidiary business that maybe is owned by one of the owners or investors of the agency, or just a friend that they've trusted over the years that says, hey, mom, I don't do this, but let me introduce you to this guy that does. The only thing we're not allowed to do in our fiduciary capacity is manage their money or provide them with investment advice. So, we can help them with their taxes. We just can't file it for them. We could show them how to build credit. We can literally fill out, all their deductions, show them, use this credit card for this, use this one for that. This is what a Roth IRA is. This is what a 401k is. These are some of the hot stocks right now. Do what you want with that information.
Right.
I've heard how other agencies do their business. I'm put off by it, but that doesn't mean that someone doesn't look at it and say to themselves, that's what I want, instead of what you're providing. And I'm okay with it. I think that businesses are capable, and they're free to run theirs how they see fit, without the sort of looking at the left, looking at the right. What are they doing? What are they doing? So maybe we should do it that way. I think if you come correct, I think if you have that transparency and that the wherewithal that's provable, and you can show results, you have a system that's in place, it transcends looking left or looking the right. This brings me up another analogy that I heard. Jimmy Iovine, who is he was the president of Interscope Records. He discovered Dr. Dre and the NWA guys. He was talking to, it might have been Rolling Stone magazine or GQ magazine, and he was talking about how racehorses, they put blinders on racehorses so that they can't look to the left or to the right while they're racing. Because if you're looking to the left or you're looking to the right and comparing yourself to what the competition is doing, you could fall in front of yourself and trip, or may not be running as fast as you need to. So when I heard that analogy and how he described racehorses and in the music industry that he's in, it was just applicable to what I do as well.
Yeah. So going off of that, and kind of staying in your own lane, aside from what everyone else is doing outside, what's like the next thing for Prozone, and where do you see yourself in a market, especially in the NFL, that's so competitive, where there's only a fixated number of actual clients that you can go get? Where do you see Prozone positioning itself going forward, so that you're continuing to capture these new up and coming athletes that are coming, get the big names, and continue to kind of grow and expand the firm?
Yeah, I don't know necessarily that expansion is on the horizon for us. Maybe adding another office, maybe adding another agent. I don't know that is desirable. What I do think is desirable, and I'm going to reference a Lil Wayne quote right now. And Lil Wayne was asked in an interview, who are you listening to in your iPod right now? He said, I don't listen to anybody but myself, because if I don't hear the mistakes or see the flaws in my lyrics or in the production or in the total output, I'm not going to get better at what I do. And really, I think, what's next for Prozone is just to even fine tune some of the stuff that we believe we do well to do even better. And just make so our hashtag is pro at life. We don't we take young men and we make them pros at life, not just pros in professional sports. We want to make sure that they habituate with some good habits. We want to make sure that they understand the value of their time, the value of their appearance, the value of their opinions. Who is an appropriate person to include in their decision making, who isn't, how to be responsible. So I think that if we can fine tune that aspect of our business and really help our clients become pros at life and follow our credo and our hashtag, I think that's what we want to do better, instead of thinking about more and more clients, more and more business, more and more expansion. You can only handle so much with your bandwidth, and I think right now we're likely at that capacity.
Okay.
Yeah, we're very selective with our clients.
Being that are in Pittsburgh and down into Florida, more and more we look at expansion in Florida, obviously because it's so much nicer there most of the year than up here in Pittsburgh. But are you still living around here in Pittsburgh? Do you spend some of your time down in Florida? Like, where do you spend most of your time now?
I live in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
We don't have an office. We all work from wherever our cell phones are.
Perfect.
And yeah, I think that the days of the brick and mortar kind of show up and chat with the sports agent are over. Even my law firm, we don't even have an online presence, and I get word of mouth referrals. I've been growing that for 12 years now. I've been an attorney. I'm in my 13th year now as an attorney. So there are ways to do it. Going down to Atlanta, going down to Florida, those are probably my two homes away from home. My brother lives in Fort Lauderdale. My business partner lives in Miami, and goes back and forth between Miami and Jacksonville. I have another business partner in Atlanta, so we spend a lot of time in those hubs.
Yeah.
And coincidentally, they happen to be hubs that breed athletes.
Yeah.
At every level and every sport, and it makes sense for us to be geographically positioned there with strength and have boots on the ground. And really relationship build and build with families, which is in exchange of that word of recruiting. I just don't like it. But yeah.
You mentioned along, these business partners in different areas. At what point did you decide to bring on a business partner? There's some people say like they hate having partners. Some people say that, that's the main driver of success. Like I love having a business partner in Nick, and think that, the firm wouldn't be where it was at if we didn't team up, to maximize our output. How has your experience been having partners along the way?
So my first partner is somebody that I met along the way, being an agent. I met him in multiple different areas. He was always somebody that was very transparent. He was somebody that was a man of faith. He was somebody that had a family, somebody that really cared. And I think that sometimes in this business, the amount of money that's at stake, the amount of high profile and fame and these kind of terms will take over. They'll introduce or evoke, levels of selfishness and greed and, just ugly kind of areas of people. And when you really find somebody that doesn't embody any of that and is selfless and would do all of this work for free and would be the kind of human that wants to change somebody's life and has the power, the academic background, or the wherewithal, the resources to do it, you grab onto those people and you don't let them go. And he was somebody that was very, very kind to me in a time when I was very dumb. And I think that was a good combination. It was like yin and a yang that just made the most sense for us to work together. And then my second business partner was a former client who played 8 years in the NFL.
Oh, awesome.
That, at the end of his career, he's had multiple businesses. He didn't need to do this. He had everything set up in his life. And we had a long conversation about how he could help do what I do, and help convey some of the wisdom that young men need. And he's now our director of player development and post-career strategy. Awesome. About how to, do you use your college degree? Do you give me all the business cards you've ever collected in your career, and let's find what makes the most sense. So none of them were ever yes men, and I really like that. I think that in any kind of partnership, if both people do the same thing, one of them is unnecessary. If both people agree all the time, one of them is unnecessary. So we check each other when it's time to have more serious conversations about the vision, about operations, about personnel, and I respect their perspective. They're both older. Well, actually, Nolan's younger, but Chad's a little bit older, and they offer a perspective on culture and on family that I don't have. I don't have my own family. I'm not from the South. I never played the game of football.
Yeah.
So, but I am a lawyer. I am in the Northeast, whatever. We have a very diverse group and different age ranges that span, 3 or 4 generations of wisdom that I think is really important for us to give our clients everything that they deserve.
Awesome. Being that, sort of last question I have for you before I hand it over to Nick is, being that, we obviously work in the investment space. We always talk about all the time of, if someone doesn't have the right team, and it's some young guy that gets access to, $10 million or $15 million in the riskiest and most speculative investments, obviously, crypto. We always worry that some of these kids, don't listen to a friend. It's like, hey, like this new coin, is going to pump, and they dump, 5 million of their net worth into that. Do you have any horror stories that you've heard of in the industry of like these, young men that now have access to tens of millions of dollars, running into unfortunate investment scenarios like that?
Yeah, you hear about them. Personally and first-handedly, no, none of my clients, thankfully, have ever gone through that. We have the top of the top referrals in that space that have proven year after year that they get results, that they show up, that they are personable, that they relate to our clients, that they really listen. And I said earlier, like, you have to be an active listener and not just wait for your turn to talk if you want to succeed in the space that we're in. It's as personal as it can get when you're talking about someone's livelihood, and they're going to retire at 32 years old, and what are they going to do with the rest of their lives? But you hear about the athletes going bankrupt. You hear about the missed out investments, or the fraudulent investments.
Right.
You could just Google a who's who of professional sports. Somebody will have gone through it, or somebody will have gone through a lawsuit. I heard in the past there were some agents that would skim off the top, and they would control their client's money before they gave the client the money that they earned, and that's how they were able to do it. So the Players Association, maybe 10 years ago or so, they made it so that if you're negotiating the player's contract, you cannot also be the advisor for their finances as well.
Makes sense.
They have to have 2 different people to prevent these things from happening. So they exist, and you can avoid it by doing your homework, doing your due diligence, spending time, real personal time with people that you plan on going into business with, or that you plan on introducing to your clients. And I think we do a really, really good job of that.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Yeah. Well, the last question that I'll kind of leave you with and ask is, for that young kid out there that maybe is on the come up and he's the star high school football player or the star baseball player, what's the number one reason that a kid like that should come to Prozone and use your services?
I always ask our current clients and our prospective clients, like, what do you want out of all of this? And is it fame? Is it money? Is it you want to become the best version of yourself? Do you want to prove the doubters wrong? Like, what do you want to earn your college degree? Do you want to travel the world? Do you want to buy luxurious jewelry and luggage? What is it that you want out of all this? And depending on what their answer is, we may not be the best fit for them. But if there's somebody that yearns for knowledge, and they yearn to. This is the most time I've said the word yearn in a long time, twice in one conversation. But if they really desire to become a professional at life, we are set up in a way that our network and our resources and our academic background and our wherewithal gets them there, and we will turn them into pros at life by joining Prozone.
Love that.
There it is.
Yeah.
Well, if you are an athlete, current, perspective on the come up, definitely follow Alex and his firm, Prozone. Follow Alex on everywhere that there's socials out there, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere. Follow Discipline to Win, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And until next time, stay disciplined. Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, Alex.